All right, Whitney, thank you so much for joining me. Super excited to learn a little bit more about you and what you've been working on. And maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit more about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Thanks for having me on your podcast show. Excited to be here. A little bit about what I'm doing today. I work at Atlassian under the ecosystem marketing team. So we're primarily focused on how we go to market with, to, and through a lot of our technology partners and our marketplace partners. So my role specifically is focused on leading the group who is kind of building out those one-to-one relationships with partner marketing, kind of like your bread and butter partner marketing motions, as well as building out the whole program, right? Like, how do we scale that? And that is kind of like the magic question that a lot of partnerships teams get and have still. And my background, I kind of started my partnerships life at Avalara. Started on the channel side actually, and did not care for marketing, did not want to touch marketing, was like absolutely not interested. I just want to chat with people on the phone. And it has slowly evolved into moving into tech partnerships and then moving into marketing. I found that I really do appreciate, that analytical numbers side of things.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I would love to start with learning a little bit more about the partner marketing role. And you've been in a direct partnerships role and now in a partner marketing role. And so at Atlassian, maybe as an example, but also more broadly, what's partner marketing responsible for?
Yeah, that's like, how much time do we have, Ty? That's a good question. Um, what is partner marketing responsible for? I think in general, it depends kind of what your KPIs are that you're trying to target through your partners, right? But generally speaking, whether you're trying to drive new leads, whether you're trying to drive integration installs and awareness, partner marketing is all about driving the marketing all the way from awareness level to driving that lead for the end users, of course. So awareness in the integration or in the integrated solution, or that could be like the sales relationship, trying to drive those leads. But also partner marketing is super focused on to partner marketing. And I think that is something that is commonly missed, or it's not always at the forefront. Just educating and enabling your partners to, whether it's understanding your products or understanding how you work and how to best go to market. For example, we have to educate a lot of our partners on kind of how they can self-serve with marketing so that they can drive interest in their apps and integrations. And there's this other component that I've sort of peeled back the layers on, and it's almost this like for partner marketing. And that is how you educate your teams internally about what you can do with partnerships. And so almost being like the advocate at your company on behalf of your partners. And that can be more obvious if you do have like sales partners, but it's less obvious for integration partners when you're trying to kind of advocate to other marketing teams, perhaps around how they can bolster their campaigns by including partners in them.
Yeah, interesting. And so you kind of mentioned that the KPIs vary, and you mentioned a couple of different ones there. Like
Yeah.
in general, what's the like based on what you've seen out there, like what's the most common metric or KPI that a partner marketer would be measured on?
Yeah. I mean, I think the one that we see the most, and it's almost like when you're a partner marketer, it's like almost you have to say your pronouns or like your KPIs, right? You're like, hey, Whitney, integration installs, because like it's so different. The motions can be very,
Interesting.
very different from like, hey, partner marketer, I'm looking for leads and pipe gen. And so I would say for a lot of partner marketers, their key metrics are leads and pipeline and marketing qualified leads and opportunities. But in our case at Atlassian, on the tech partner side, we are very hyper focused on integration installs for those joint solutions, as well as like monthly active users of those solutions.
Interesting. Interesting. And so I think that that's like it's a very interesting journey to go on. And I remember talking to the tech partner team at Atlassian where, yeah, like popularity, adoption of integrations seem to be like the big focus. And like how does, because we almost always talk about leads and pipeline and revenue and that being like an absolute focus for companies, like how does a team like that get prioritized? Then there must be like that must be a leading indicator of like a North Star metric within the business where people have said, hey, if customers are using partner integration, something happens. And I'd be
Yeah.
really interested to hear, like, being on the inside, how that is justified.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's nice that at Atlassian we've had a team of folks who have been able to spend a little bit of time researching this. And as it turns out, what happens like with the more apps and integrations an instance or a user has on their account that's active, the less churn, the more usage, more stickiness. So we're seeing general user engagement go up in direct correlation with having like 3 or more apps, I think it
Yeah.
is. And so kind of a lot more to peel back if we go into the metrics there. But the other thing to think about too is like at Atlassian for us, one of our key initiatives is cloud migrations, right? So Atlassian has server, data center, cloud, instances of our products.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is to get folks over to cloud. And so if we can say, these cloud apps have, this amazing functionality, it tells a bigger story around why users should migrate over to cloud. And so cloud apps are highly valuable for that reason and installing
Interesting.
them. Yeah.
Interesting. And yeah, okay, that's very interesting. So there is like a retention and customer health angle, but then it sounds like that's also kind of like a customer expansion motion as
Yeah.
well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, really. Okay, that's really cool. And so you kind of talked a little bit about the technology partners and integration partners and also the marketplace as well.
Yeah.
Marketplace is something that I'm very interested in because we have a
Okay.
marketplace at Deal and we are investing a lot of time in it and we're very excited about it. We have hundreds of partners at the moment and tens of thousands, almost hundreds of thousands of people engaging in it on a monthly basis. And so
Awesome.
we're really excited about the marketplace and what it can do. And I know I've actually had someone on the show before who was a marketplace partner for Atlassian, and we talked about the
Okay.
whole thing from the other side a little bit. Mariam Lahiji, she did a great job of kind of talking about like how she and they optimized their business to participate really successfully in the kind of marketplace program that exists. I would love to hear, like, I would love to start by talking about like how Atlassian thinks about the marketplace. I think a lot of people think that there's a great marketplace opportunity. Like everyone wants to sit in the middle of the stack, right? And everyone wants to be like an AWS or an Atlassian or a Salesforce or whatever. But not everyone is, and sometimes you have to be part of the marketplace rather than own the marketplace. But I'd love to just hear about like what role internally at Atlassian does the marketplace play, and like how do people see that as part of the overall strategy? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can't speak to the strategy when they first like rolled out the marketplace, but I know that the objective has been to get developers to express interest and to start building easily and to for developers to make money or marketplace partners to make money. They can be like smaller to larger developers that we're talking about here. so it's a business, it's a revenue stream for developers, but Atlassian has viewed it always as, these are apps that are filling the product gaps. These
Hmm.
are apps that these developers, the more Atlassian savvy they are, the more they know, like, okay, Jira needs this app, whatever it is. And so that's a big part of it. I think forward looking, the vision that Atlassian has, and for the marketplace is to start thinking about, the Atlassian suite of first party products overlaid with second party apps and third party integrations to create full complete solutions, right? Like whether that's solutions for like one area that we're pretty sophisticated in this is like DevOps,
Hmm.
like DevOps solution. And other areas that we could look at are like maybe more creative teams. Like, what does the whole solution look like? And how can you take your Atlassian products, your second party apps, and your third party integrations? And I know, like, I'm probably not supposed to use the word bundle,
Yeah.
but the idea of like bundling those or creating a solution set is really key. And so I think one of the areas that Atlassian has acknowledged that we need to double down on is getting proactive about educating our marketplace partners on, like, okay, here's where there's gaps, here's where we're seeing that there's interest. These are not products that we are trying to build ourselves, and so we would like it if you, marketplace partner, could take this on and build that quality app that we know there is demand for.
Hmm.
So really, the idea, in short, is to kind of take, the supply of Atlassian apps and integrations, marketplace partners, and match them up with demand. And Atlassian kind of plays that middleman in doing that, so that users and partners can win.
That's awesome. And yeah, and how do you know what there's demand for?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think that it is. Um, it is still early days on that one. I think it's a function of getting surveys from our users. It's a function of, we have a pretty solid research and insights team that will go out and conduct surveys and have these conversations. And so there's a combination of quantitative and qualitative work that's going into that. And so, like, today we don't have all of the answers, but it's definitely that, like I said, the vision that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's something that we're trying to figure out as well. We definitely get feature requests and product requests and integration requests and those kind of things, and we try and use those. But there's also a lot of where there's green field, like you kind of described. Like
Yeah.
how do we fill those gaps with partners? Like create like it really it like create value in the ecosystem through those opportunities. I think it's like a really interesting thing to figure out, and
Yeah.
ultimately like good for all people involved. You've talked a few times about joint solutions and that kind of like solution bundle, and I think that that's really interesting. Again, it's something selfishly that I'm trying to figure out on my team at the
Yeah.
moment, so that's why I'm going to go there. Really, like half of this is like just me getting my questions answered, and I just hope that other
Yeah.
people find it interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but so tell me a little bit more about that as a partner marketer. Like how far do you go with these joint solutions? Is it like it's just something, it's like a category, or it's a it's materials for the sales team, or it's like online promotion, or like what does the, I guess, the minimum look like, and then what does it look like with a really successful fully invested partner as well?
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly is a spectrum. I mean, I think if we're talking about like these third party partners and integrated solutions, like everybody always says, like the 1 + 1 = 3. Um, that is that is the idea. And I think, for Atlassian, the minimum viable is like creating the integration, making it available, broadcasting to joint users that it exists. I think kind of next phase into that is the co-marketing motion, ensuring that the partner is also jointly marketing it,
Hmm.
um, and just trying to understand that it's viable based on like how many users you're actually getting there, because sometimes at the end of the day you don't really know. Like you can assess like what the total addressable market is for
Mm-hmm.
that integrated solution, but you don't really know until it's live and people are buying into it and adopting it. But one of like I would say the mecca actually for Atlassian, and as far as like broadcasting those integrated solutions, is having product marketing as your driver on broadcasting it, right? Because our product marketers, like the marketing group who owns like Jira marketing, right? Like if there is a new integration between like, you know, Slack, for instance, and
Mm-hmm.
Jira,
Mm-hmm.
it's really ideal if the product marketing team can weave in those use cases into their go-to-market strategy. And so it's kind of a no-brainer, but oftentimes what I hear and what I see when I talk to other partner marketers is like, oh, we ran this like joint campaign in this joint webinar, you know, some interest, but not a lot of interest in adopting the integration. And it's just so much more valuable if the product marketing team can kind of take that and run with it and actually show value through the product, rather than kind of a standalone co-marketing motion, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, and I think you could like subtract product, and you could say like community marketing or social media marketing, like for every
Yeah.
facet, like demand, like for every single facet of marketing. It's almost always better that the partner marketer is like bringing this stuff to the customer marketing team ultimately,
Yeah.
right? Like I was just talking to our partner programs person this week, and they were saying how they noticed that Shopify had got rid of their like Shopify partners social channels, right? Like they had like a
Interesting.
Shopify partners LinkedIn, I think, and now they don't have one anymore. And I think they're just prioritizing marketing to their customer and marketing their partners to their customers, basically, which I do think
Yeah.
makes it makes sense. I do think there's value in both approaches, but so like when either a partner marketer or a partnerships person is trying to bring this to the customer marketing team, and assuming that maybe not everyone is as mature as Atlassian when it comes to go to market with partners, like what's like how I guess firstly, how are you handling a conversation like that? And then I would love to hear like what would be your recommendation for people that are working in organizations that are maybe a little bit less mature when it comes to partnerships as well.
Yeah, I think I always say that if you're going to make an ask of the product marketing team, you better be sure this is not your first, second, or third conversation with them, right? So like knowing ahead of time who your contact is, like just this is like standard human behavior, right? Like make sure you know who you're supposed to be chatting with, you know who the decision maker is, and you already have a relationship with them, because it makes the ask much easier. And if I would say whenever I have these conversations, the only time I have heard a no is when it was someone who I didn't work with. I was a product within Atlassian that I was like, oh, I've never worked with them before. Like I should probably, you know, introduce myself, but also
Yeah.
see if they'll write this customer story for me, right? Like it's just not going to work. The other piece of advice that I have around this, and something that we haven't actually touched on in this conversation, is have a conversation with product first,
Mm.
right? Go to your product managers and say like, hey, what do you think of this integration, or what do you see a future where, oh, I don't know, maybe we're plugging, you know, a embedded spot in product where we're showcasing this integration, this third party integration, and see what they say, and use them as an advocate to then go to product marketing and say, hey, like the product team was really interested in this, and they clearly see it as kind of a gap in the product, or an area where they're not going to invest in anytime soon. So maybe product marketing should join in and help tell the story about how our integrated solution can be better. And I think that helps set the stage for you if you do have future conversations with product about product-led growth and partnerships. But then B, just it makes your case that much stronger to go to the marketing team and say, like, product is bought in, so you should be too.
Smart. And
Yeah.
and then for the step before that, for the partners that are trying to get on partner marketing's agenda, like what tips would you have for them, for people that are playing in the Atlassian ecosystem and they're trying to get the attention of the partner marketing team?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll make a plug for some of the work that I'm doing
Yeah,
here
do.
because
Please do.
there are a lot of marketplace and integration partners who reach out to us, and they are the nicest people. And they say, "Hey, Whitney, what can we do to, like, go to market with you? Can we get a featured blog? Can we do a webinar?" And my response is always like, "Oof, yeah, this team of just a few is has to prioritize what we do, right?" And
Yeah.
so we haven't figured out how to dial in, like, the one Z two Z, like, actions of just doing, like, a webinar with one partner, right?
Mhm.
My suggestion for these partners would be, go find some other partners that also want this, right? Like, do the heavy lifting for Atlassian marketing and go find, like, what we talked about earlier, like that solution set, right?
Mhm.
Like the DevOps partners, or the kind of like whiteboarding and creative partners that could support marketing teams with their apps and integrations to Atlassian products. Like, you should band together and approach us and say, "Hey, we've got an idea for a webinar that can fold in like 4 or 5 partners. This is the storyline that we're thinking of." And it doesn't always have to be a webinar, but you see what I'm saying? Like, our
Yeah.
whole motion is to drive towards that kind of solution first messaging and folding in our partners. And we are working on doing that. We're trying to create programs that allow us to do this at scale, right? Like everyone is. But that's my advice I would give to the Atlassian partner.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then I think it's very interesting. It's and very compelling to the customer as well, ultimately.
Right.
Like, because by coming up with that solution, really what you're doing is like just spending time empathizing with the customer and figuring out what problem it actually solves,
Right.
which I think is really cool. So yeah, you've talked a little bit about the partner program and figuring out how to scale the partner program, and so I would love to just hear like what that looks like at the moment. Like what I'm imagining, that's an endeavor, right? Like we're doing our partner program and we're trying to make it better every day, and I'm always interested how something like that looks on the inside.
Yeah. It's if someone could come up with a framework for how to build these, they would be just a millionaire by now, right? And I think it's one of those things that the further I get into it, the more I'm like, oh, then there's this other part of it. Like, you want to be able to set up the partner program so that Atlassian wins and so that the partner wins. And you want to set up the program to create good incentives, like good behavior on the partner's part. But the thing that is tricky, especially for a company like Atlassian being kind of a Goliath that it is right now, is you're having to kind of like correct programs that already exist, right? Like, we're
Uh-huh.
not building it from the ground up. So I think it's also a big part of creating that program is leaning into our super reliable partners that are open and candid and give us feedback, and hoping that they will help us dial it in and look for the right things. And for example, like, I was chatting about adding in new marketing benefits and requirements to an updated version of Marketplace Partner Program. And part of that is, okay, we have to go to the partner and get feedback about what benefits and like go to market
Mhm.
activities do they perceive as desirable. But also, if you offer them, like, you need to be able to follow through with those benefits, right? So
Yeah.
without hiring like 4 new marketers, how do I go to the marketing team and say, okay, what channels do we have to be able to feed this partner content through at scale? And so I think a lot of it right now is A, trying to get the partner feedback, but B, trying to understand like bandwidth in a tiered way, right? Like a crawl, walk, run. You're never going to be able to create a partner program or a partner marketing program and just say like, okay, boom, light switch on, let's go. Like there's going to be some level of like crawl, walk, run. And
Yeah.
someone said something the other day, or someone said something here in a meeting one time that was like tummy time. It's like that phase before crawl. And it's like,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like we're in tummy time right now. So that's how I would
That's
summarize where
great.
we're at with that one.
Yeah, especially because the kids hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
stuck. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't go anywhere. You're on your tummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's excellent. Yeah. Okay. I really like that. And yeah, the thing that I've found really interesting. This will be my third partner program that I've kind of like worked on, and I don't know whether programmatically I've ever found something that really works. Like
Right.
what I have found that works is you make it really easy to work with you. Like so you build great relationships with people, rather like humans, and you have great relationships with them, and then you're really easy to work with. Like
Yeah.
if they want to reach out and introduce their customer, it's really easy for them to do it. Like if they've got a problem with something, they can shoot you an email and you're responsive. Like you're nice people, and everything else I've tried, like even a deal, we've tried several different tiers of incentives. Like we're very generous at the moment with our incentives, and haven't really seen any material change in productivity from partners. And Optimizely, we had fairly robust certification program that we built
Yeah.
at Amplitude. Like we had some amazing, like we would go and do, because the certification stuff didn't really work. So then at Amplitude, we were like, okay, we're going to go and do like in-person seminars and trainings with all of our partners and like all of this kind of stuff. And then, I don't know if I've really nailed still what work. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that all three have been great, like successful partner businesses. But like the program part of it, I don't know if it was like very programmatic still. And so
Yeah.
I'm interested. Obviously, you're getting that feedback. Like, what's your internal feedback loop for understanding? Like, are these things making a difference? I guess, and for the positive.
Yeah. As far as how we're assessing if the current program even works.
Yeah,
Um,
whether it makes a difference and what does move the needle. You know.
yeah. Um, I mean, I think right now for a lot of our partners, it's understanding like at the end of the day, these are apps and integrations for our users, right? So are there installs? Or is there an increase in installs? Are the apps and integrations being used? Like, I mean, those are I guess, the key metrics that we're looking at to see if it all works. But one of the things there is partner sentiment, right? Like, is it easy to work with us? And you touched on this, and it's such an important topic because like I will tell you right now, Atlassian's partner program and marketplace program, it was built to scale initially, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was built in a self-serve way. But like it's kind of funny when I say that out loud because I think about some of these large partners like AppFire, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, like they're not really a self-serve partner. Like they're like a machine, right? They're like a full business and they've got lots of different personas and roles of people who work there. And so I think the feedback loop that we've been trying to nail is understanding partner sentiment and how to measure like whether that's going up or down and whether like our self-serve tools are really working for all partners across the board or if we need to start maybe adjusting some of those things. And so we certainly do have a way of getting direct partner feedback to understand if it works for them on the sentiment side.
Yeah.
But the feedback loop, of course, is like we're constantly looking at just marketplace activity and
Uh-huh.
whether the installs and integrations are happening. And so I think like there are probably a few other things I'm missing there as far as metrics and the feedback loop goes, but those are obviously the human part and the metrics part of it together.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that we're trying to figure out at the moment, or at least I really want to, is like how do we enable the partners to market their solution? Like, because ultimately we have a marketplace, like we want to be unbiased and we want to promote the solutions in the marketplace that are the most popular, and thus, and hopefully that's like synonymous with the most desired by our customers, right? Also, we want to give everyone a playbook so that they can promote their integrations or perks or benefits or whatever, so that like they can get more adoption. And so that like that's something that we're trying to figure out at the moment, is like, how do we, outside of like the partner doing a press release, or like
Right.
sending out an email or something, like are there any things, you've got a lot more partners than us, like is there any things that you've seen people do particularly well, that have kind of, even if they're like a kind of a David versus Goliath type app in the app store, they've been able to get a lot of attention for themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think funny you're working on that. I'm working on that too.
Cool. Let's share note.
Just yeah, trying to get a partner to feel empowered to go to market on their
Yeah.
own, and I kind of refer to it as the franchise playbook. Working on that
Mm,
franchise playbook. The hey, like you want to start your own McDonald's store? Here is the book on exactly what you need to
yeah.
do to have a successful McDonald's store, right? And that is the goal for me and my team
Hmm.
personally. I think that it is the challenge with it is too is assessing like the different partner tiers and the different partner knowledge, right? Because some of the partners that we're working with have full-blown marketing teams. Some of the partners we're working with they have two developers
Yeah.
and like and so I think part of it is like giving those like you said, David and Goliath, like we want to give the larger partners opportunities still, and we want to present good co-marketing activities for them that they can self-serve, and so Atlassian does have one of the things that I've seen work really well is like the community.
Yeah.
The community is open to all to view. You have to, be logged in to actually comment or create your own post. But the community is a great way to start conversation. And
Mm,
I've seen large partners be able to post like customer stories in there and just use cases and demo videos and those community posts link out to their app in the marketplace.
yeah.
And so they've kind of dialed in like the storyline that they want to tell by using that channel, and then pointing it in the right direction. But for the smaller partners, we're having to kind of take it a few steps back and actually educate them on, okay, here's how you write value messaging. Here's how you write. Like, this is what you can do to kind of make a use case and tell your story. Like, don't just give a demo and tell us what your app does. Like, tell us why someone would need to use it. And so,
Mm,
really taking it back and, offering up like, um, what I call like the partner marketing guides, whether it's like kind of a beginner's guide, accompanied with maybe a webinar where we're doing Q&A with partners. And I think like that's the enablement piece. But how they actually take that and then turn it into like a new community post or developing, a microsite on their website that talks about their integration. Or maybe just creating videos. Like people love video content and it shouldn't be overlooked because for some it's easier than others to figure out how to create video content, but like don't spend a bunch of time like writing this technical jargon even though like some of your audience might be more technical. Like create a video and make it interesting and have it stand out, and invest in your marketplace listing, and again, tell the use cases. Like, don't just tell us what your app does. Like, get really nitty gritty into the why would I want to use it, or why should I? Why do I need this thing I didn't know I needed?
yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. I'm smirking because Asher, who I'm sure you know from
yeah,
Avalara as well, he loves videos of everything, and I can't stand videos of things. I would much rather everything to just be written down. And I thought that was like everyone else. And then obviously we make a bunch of videos, and the engagement's great on them. Like, a lot of people watch this show, and I was like, no one's ever going to watch it. Like, who wants to? People would just rather read a blog post, and I realized that actually I'm probably the exception. Rather, I thought I was like the common person. But I love, so the community comment that you made, I think, is absolutely genius, because obviously, like, first and foremost, it's something for your customers and users, right? Like that, and it's a great resource and solution for them. And also, then, it's a great way for a partner to engage with those people and highlight, like, the things that they're doing and solve problems, answer questions, just like be a overall value add to the community. And then obviously for Atlassian, it's amazing because you have people that aren't on the payroll basically like helping manage your community and like adding a bunch of value. And so it's just like, it's great all around. I think it's very cool. I think Atlassian on the channel partner side, have done such a good job of that with like events as well, where there's partners running events. It seems
Yeah.
like all around the world every single day because they're enabled to do so. I think is absolutely genius, to be honest. And yeah, like the franchise playbook on events seems to exist, and I
Yeah.
think doing the same thing with the integrations is really smart. I would love to see that at some point. If you're willing to share your playbook once you put it together, I will. I'll read it, I promise, and I'll take a bunch of notes, and I'll be fascinated by it if you're open to it. I'd love to see it. So we are running out of time, unfortunately, which is very sad because I could ask you 100 million more questions, to be honest. But the question I wanted to make sure that we get some time to dig into is the question that we ask everyone on the show. What's something that you learned recently or not that you would like to share with the audience that's listening today?
Yeah, something that I've learned recently that has nothing to do with any of this that I want to lead with here.
Yeah.
and I really hope it's true now that I'm publicly saying it. But apparently all bears of all types are born in the month of January. I learned that recently, and I'm going to fact check as soon as I get off this call with you because I'm a little worried now. But yeah, I heard that one recently. So, but no,
Wow.
what one thing that I think I have figured out recently, just in this role, and that applies to this conversation, is what I'm hearing oftentimes is like partner managers exist, or these strategic partner managers, or whatever the role is called.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always wondering, like, how do I get the marketing thing dialed in with these partners? Like, we don't have any partner marketing resources. How do I manage that? And I just want to go back to the comment that I made about making connections with your product teams and
Mm-hmm.
making connections with your product marketing teams. And maybe, you make that connection through your product marketing team, through your product team. But either way, that's going to be your stopgap solution until you make a case to building out the partner marketing function at your company or organization or wherever you are. It's for me, it's worked really well. And I think you'll also find really quickly how to create demand for hiring that partner marketing role when you can show that, hey, these teams are invested in telling the story, but we need someone dedicated to bridging that gap. And so that's kind of my 2 cents around what I've learned, especially being at Atlassian over the last couple of years here.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think that's really tactical and helpful advice, and something that everyone can go and do. I'm very guilty of having a one-track mind and just jumping on a call and being like, "Hey, so we need to do this thing," and so I probably need to take that advice myself, and I'd be a bit more successful. So I appreciate it. And I think that everyone's going to absolutely love this conversation. So thank you so much for your time, Whitney. Super interesting. I love the Atlassian partner ecosystem and the partner story. I'm fascinated by it. And so it's so cool to have you on the show to talk a bit about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, of course.